Hi there, it's Nicole here today for Waffle Flower, and I'm so excited to share this beach scene trifold one-layer card with you featuring the new Sandy Toes stamp set. Also very, very exciting is Waffle Flower is now releasing oversized stamp sets. They are 5x7 stamp sets that retail for $20, and this is one of them. I could not pick just one or two images to use on a standard size card. And when this happens, and when the images really kind of, to me, tell a story, I love trifold cards. And I have shared a few over the past few months, and I've really kind of honed in on my favorite kind, and that is one layer, because not only are they super easy to fold and send, but there's nothing that gets in the way of the folding and the scene. There's no white outlines, and it's really easy. What I love to do is take a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock, this is also my preferred way and preferred coloring, and trim it down to 5.5 inches by 12 inches. The paper is 9 by 12. I cut it down to the standard A2 sized height. It's just going to be a 1/4 inch small when you fold it. So it's going to measure 4 by 5.5 inches. Then I like to lightly pencil in at the 4-inch mark from each side. So at 4 inches and at 8 inches. So I know where each panel is going to be, where those folds are going to be. But we're going to save the fold until the very last. And that's because when you ink up your background, you don't want the ink to pool where those folds are. I've learned that the hard way over the last few months doing these cards, that if you fold it to begin with, the ink pools up at those seams and it kind of distorts maybe the scene just a little bit. Next, I love to lay out my stamp images in the order I want them to go. This gives me a good idea if anything is overlapping. That way I can go ahead and mask them off. Create my masks for the images because I will be doing a fair amount of inking over the background to create this beachy scene. I need to create masks for all the images. These are good size images. With a 5x7 stamp set, you're going to get some fairly decent sized images. And I, like I said, could not choose. I wanted to use all 5. But I wanted them definitely to lay out in the right way where when the card is closed, you're not going to see something kind of funny, especially on that initial fold. When you first take the card or the recipient takes the card out of the envelope, you want them to see something lovely and not something kind of weird. I don't know a better way to put that. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but you'll see what I mean when I fold the card at the end. So those pencil lines help. So far, I have stamped the first 3 images and created masks for them. I did a lot of the masking off camera. It's simply cutting the mask out. This is Simon Says Stamp masking paper. I love it. I'm also stamping the images with VersaFine ONYX black ink. 4 Zig Clean Color Real Brush marker coloring. This ink works wonderfully. I've got masks now for all of my images, including the little individual flip-flop. I've erased the lines. Those pencil lines I drew in, I really don't need those anymore. I can use my score pal to score the card at the end, and I don't want those pencil lines to show in the finished design. Along the top edge of the card, I'm very, very lightly inking in with tumbled glass distress ink. Then we're going to move down to the bottom portion of the card and ink in with antique linen distress ink to create the sand. And the sand's going to be really two-tone, with antique linen being the base, and then we're going to kind of brush in, if that makes sense. You can see I'm just using my ink blending tool with gathered twigs, and I'm adding that darker color, but not really very tidily, and I'm not doing it the regular inking way in circles. I'm doing it more in a swipe motion to add some dark areas throughout that sand. For the water, again, I'm going to use a little bit different. Instead of using circle motion, I'm kind of doing more of a swipe motion. Just whatever to get that color down there. And I'm applying Mermaid Lagoon for the ocean water. And we'll add some texture to that ocean a little bit later. When I'm creating a trifold card, I have found that what I really like to do is build my background first. And I'm going to use some Post-it tape as a mask to get that nice horizon line. but I like to do the background first, and then I'll go back and add color to those stamped images. This for two reasons. One, the masks are already in place, so it's a great time to just go ahead and get that done. And two, I don't want to waste my time coloring if by some reason I would mess up the background. It's a lot easier to go ahead and replace and fix and redo this without the coloring already being done. Now I wanted some of the foam to really make it look like a beach scene. If I could have found my stipple brush, that's what I would have used, and I actually found it after I was done doing this, of course. It was really right out in the open. I just overlooked it. But I want to add foam, and the best way I could find to do this was kind of just adding little dots of white paint. This is the Picket Fence Distress Paint. And I'm using the end of my paintbrush, the bullet tip end. Any paintbrush will work. I tried to find a smaller one. And I'm just picking the paint up and dabbing it kind of all along that beachy, where the water meets the sand. That's what I'm imagining this as. And it's creating that foam kind of from the water. That's what I wanted this to look like. The background was pretty plain Jane before this, and I think all those little things that you can do to help build up the scene, add interest, really make it special, helps with the overall feeling, especially when you don't have additional layers. This is a single layer card. There's lots of images and things like that, but there's not a ton of other stuff going on. The top portion of the card has a lot of really nice white space. So I'm trying to add all of those fun details that really add interest in other ways. Once this is done, it's going to take the paint a little bit to air dry, and I did let it air dry. I'm going to go ahead and start stamping my sentiment. And the sentiments are also all from the Sandy Toes stamp set, and it is going to read, "Life is better at the beach with Sandy Toes and you." I think that's amazing and fun. A two-tone greeting is what I went for here. Any of the words that are in the cursive script, because they're all individual words, you can kind of mix and match to build whatever sentiment you want. Anything that's in a cursive script is stamped with Mermaid Lagoon ink, and I am using the stamp press to do this. Anything in the other font is going to be in black ink. And I wanted "Life is better at the" to be on the first panel of the card. So I did kind of measure over and try to keep that so that the first portion of the sentiment is going to be visible when the recipient opens up the card from the envelope. And then when they fold out the card, you can read the entire thing. That horizon line immediately makes itself the perfect place, a great area for a long sentiment like this one is. And I think it really fits with the overall look and feel of the whole design. I started with the word beach mostly because I needed that to fall after the 4-inch mark. I am also doing this upside down. The reason is the stamp press is fantastic for this because it's got that open side, but I need to be able to stamp that, and the paper is longer than the stamp press that I have, or stamp platform. I'm sorry, I kept saying stamp press. Stamp platform that I have. So I flipped it upside down. You could also flip your whole stamp platform upside down, and that way you could maybe do it so that you're not looking at the letters upside down. With having that fantastic horizon line to work with, it really didn't bother me a whole lot because that really served as a fantastic just kind of guideline for where I want to stamp. So I'm going to flip it around now. My masks are still in place, you can see, and that's because I need to add some detail to the rest of the water. I'm kind of waiting for that white paint or foam to dry. And I'll stamp the rest of the greeting with black ink. And that's going to finish off this sentiment. We're going to add some detail to the water, and then we can remove the masks and start the coloring, which is so fantastic. I am taking the Salty Ocean Distress Marker and just drawing in some kind of random lines in the background. Nothing crazy. You could even do some scallopy type lines if you wanted to. I did not trust myself to do anything too ornate. I was really afraid of messing up my card. So I just drew in some lines, and then I took a water brush pen and blended them out. I wasn't even sure about it at this point. I'm going to tell you that right off. Part of the reason I saved this for last is because I was really nervous about this. I was afraid of messing up my card, but I just didn't love the water plain like it was, just that Mermaid Lagoon. So what I ended up doing, I did go ahead and color in those areas, blend them out with the water in a water brush pen, and then I'm removing the masks. And that was all it took for me to realize that that was exactly the right thing to do, because I think it adds so much to the whole overall scene and to that water. And the masks kind of distort everything because they were blue from inking over them and things. But once you get those removed, look how cute that is. At this point, if you are sending this card to especially someone like a child or a card like it, you could leave those images, just the outline, and encourage the recipient to color the images in themselves. I think these kind of cards would be fantastic for kids to get in the mail, and it's kind of just like a card and a gift in one. Something fun, a fun activity they could do. I'm going to go ahead and color mine in. I have listed the colors of Zig Clean Color real brush markers I'm using over in the bottom right corner of the screen. So if you want to follow along, or you want to know if at any time what color I use to color what area, that is where you can find that information. And the reason I like Zigs for one layer cards like this is they do not bleed through the paper. These are a water-based marker, meaning they're not alcohol ink based like Copics are. And Copics would bleed through your cardstock, and you're going to see that on the back side. On the back side of my cards, I do not like to see the ink bleeding through. So that's where you would add an additional layer of paper. Well, with a one-layer card, you don't want to add that additional layer of paper. So I am a big fan of the Zigs for this reason. When I'm doing a one-layer card, colored pencils would be amazing. It's on my list. I was going to do it, but I just felt like using markers today, so I did. But my next trifold card, I want to tell you guys, I promise that I will do one soon with colored pencils, because I think that would be amazing as well. They also obviously will not bleed through the paper, and I would love to see that look on a trifold card. So I'm just going to work my way across the card. I really very much went bright and colorful, and not exactly rainbow order, but I tried to use all spectrum of the rainbow with a very basic beachy background with blues and browns. I love color, and I think color lends itself fantastic to swim trunks, flip-flops, surfboards, and swim attire. I think it just works perfectly. So I went very bright and colorful with reds, pinks, kind of orange yellows, greens, blues, and even some purple. And I'm going to use those throughout the design. And I kept the skin tone very easy. I just did the same thing throughout. I was really just trying to get that color down and get that done. Beige is a great color to work with the flesh color marker. If you think it blends out too much, don't be afraid to maybe go back over it one more time. It takes quite a bit for the Bristol Smooth cardstock to start pilling. I wouldn't recommend going over it too many times, but if I have initially put down my dark color, blended it out with my lighter colors, and then it's just blended too much and I feel like I need more, I will go back with my dark color and add a little bit more in, or go back in with my light color and blend more out if it didn't get blended very well. And you can do that very easily, and I have not had any trouble with the Bristol cardstock pilling. Other cardstocks, yes. I've mentioned it before, but maybe if you haven't seen me use Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers in the past, I did not love these markers until I started using them with Bristol Smooth cardstock. To me, they go hand in hand. I do not like how they work on watercolor cardstocks, and I've tried several different brands with them. But with the Bristol Smooth cardstock, they go on and blend like butter, and they are amazing. Really, really fun. The last little girl there, I really like. I kind of tried to pull in a little bit more of the brown and get her skin tone a little darker, which I absolutely loved. So some of the colors for her hair really kind of worked into building her skin color darker, which was what I was looking for. She's got a cute little purple dress, holding that pink t-shirt in her one hand and then the beach ball under her other arm. I did decide to go in and add some detail to some of the clothing and things with either the Sakura white gel pen or the Stardust glitter pen. Not a lot. I have found that while I love using these pens over Copic markers or even colored pencils, they don't love the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I think maybe it's the water-based component of these markers. The tip tends to try to pick up the color, and I just don't get the same effect that I get when I use them with other coloring mediums. So I kind of kept that minimal, but I did add some additional little black sand dot stamping along the bottom edge. I did that off camera, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. And then I added Stardust glitter pen and the white gel pen, additional dots to make the sand. I'm using the Score Pal then to fold my card, and I accidentally folded that the wrong way, so let me fold that the right way. 4 inches from each end. And there is my tri-fold card. Once this is all dry, I'm going to show you. Here's what it looks like folded, and then when you fold it out. Isn't that cute? So when you first open it, you see the cute little boy running with his flip-flops, and it says life is better at the, and when you open it up, beach with sandy toes and you. Thanks for joining me today for this one-layer tri-fold card featuring the Waffle Flower Sandy Toes stamp set. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more links to Waffle Flower videos that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.